Hello everybody, Kanisha the Creator here, and I'm here today to watch to bring you my reaction to Negative Legend. How does the Vampire Knight anime compare to the manga? Now, I will just tell y'all for emphasis, I read the manga and watched the anime, and let me tell you, I'd rather stick to the anime because the manga is just too much for me. And when I say too much, I mean too much. It's too much for me. I don't know what I was thinking when I thought of reading the manga after watching the anime. I'm pretty sure I probably thought, oh, I'll get a satisfying ending. Boy, was I a fool back then. I will definitely always look up what's the difference between the anime and the manga every time. But now I don't really have to look that up because many times the anime adapts good version, like a whole good sum of the manga. So I don't have to worry about that much of a difference. Like in My Hero Academia. Although it doesn't fully count because they're still working on season 7 and I've already read them, and since they're still working on it, they haven't fully adapted all of the manga just yet. So yeah, there's still that. Anyway, well, we're about to get to the video, but hang on a minute because one of my videos has finished downloading on this website, so I can be able to put the link to it on this. If y'all wondering what this is my reaction to Lab Rats. I just put in the link in the description down below for that video. So anybody who is happy to hear that I was going to be reacting to Lab Rats, there you go. Well, anyway, now let's get to the video.
Available in my Etsy shop. Click the link in the description before they run out. I went over the anime for Vampire Knight, and if you haven't watched that video, you really should before you watch this one. But if you haven't seen that video, you know that Vampire Knight gets really messed up at the end. But during this time period, it was very common for anime to deviate from the manga. And in the Vampire Knight situation, it never even caught up with the manga. And I am desperately hoping that the manga is better than the anime because, I have a lot of problems with the anime. And I really hope the issue with Yuki and Kaname isn't the same. But my hopes are not very high. The beginning of the manga is practically the same as the anime, so I'm going to speedrun what you need to know. They're a lot more clear with the headmaster's pacifist goals. He's trying to teach younger vampires how to coexist with humans so as to mold the next generation. Oh, well, now the school makes sense. We're already doing better than the anime. That was hinted at, but never explicitly said like in the manga. Not only that, but you realize how slow the anime goes. In the first volume, they don't beat around the bush when it comes to telling you these characters' motivations, especially Zero. The mention of them being able to wipe people's memories was also dropped in volume 1, so that it's not a complete surprise like in the anime. They memory wipe students if they see the night class doing vampire activities. They also beeline to Zero revealing he's turning into a
It's right there. Okay, let's continue.
Vampire. The weird scenes with them running around the town fighting level E vampires didn't even happen in the manga. Takuma's grandfather, whom I completely cut out of my video on the anime because he was unimportant to the story, actually has some character around him in the manga. Apparently, he's not only an aristocrat, but also his company is so big that all human transactions go through him, showcasing how much of a foothold the vampires truly have on humans that don't even know they exist. Kaname still generally doesn't have much of a personality, and the progression of events doesn't deviate from what we saw in the anime. The tone is very different in the manga just because they don't really dwindle on things like the anime does. The progression of events is much more quick, which makes the charm of the anime non-existent in the manga. Shizuka's story goes the same route that it did in the anime. She gets killed by Kaname. Kaname gets a big old chomp out of Shizuka, making him double pure blood power, super god mode ultra. You know, in the anime they really harp on how Shizuka was in love with a human, and they rearrange how they introduced all this information. Frankly, I think I like how the anime introduced the information more than the manga, because with the manga it's like, oh, all this stuff happened, also here's why. I'm like, no, let's like, drip feed me some info. Come on, I don't know. Like, if I were reading the manga first, I'd be like, why is Shizuka important? What's the big deal with her? Seems like they took the chance to fix some problems with the writing when it came to the anime. Of course, there was a bunch of things that they also added in the anime that wasn't in the manga, but whatever. Also, it's explicitly said that Kaname framed Zero for killing Shizuka. He says that he went to the Senate to tell them Zero did it. Kaname talks about those who twisted the fate of the purebloods again, so I'm sure we'll actually see what the heck he's talking about. And when the Senate comes to kill Zero, Kaname still defends him, so he wants Zero to still protect Yuki, but he also doesn't want the Senate on Kaname's back. Also, I know some of you in the—
Wow. See, this is why I don't like it, because it be complicated sometimes for no reason. I don't always like manga where in the anime it's very simple. They make it very simple. They explain it so simple that even a child could understand it. But sometimes in the manga they make it so complicated you're like, wait, what? This don't make no sense at all.
The comments below are probably telling me that the Japanese dub had all of this information. Well, I'm sorry, but I'm assuming the majority of people who are watching this video grew up watching it in English, because—
Unfortunately, I didn't grow up with this. I started this like halfway in between when I first started my anime. Like, I just started like getting into anime, and I was starting to get into the romance genre. And like one of my first romances, besides Sailor Moon, was Vampire Night. And yes, I did first watch it in English. Guys, y'all gotta get used to this. I am from America, so obviously English is my native language. So obviously I watched it in dub first, then I watched it in sub. The only anime at the time at first that I had ever watched in sub was Detective Conan. And the only reason I did that is because I didn't know where the heck the dub was. And I didn't know they changed it from Detective Conan to Case Closed. So, yeah, there's that.
Like half of my audience is in America. An extra like 10% is in English-speaking countries. For that 40 to 30% of you that aren't from English-speaking countries, thanks, you guys are cool. Shout out in the comments. Then Kaname goes directly to the Senate and argues on Zero's behalf and gets the heat off of him. Okay, well, I guess he's not a total jerkwad. Apparently, any aristocrat vampire can seal away someone's memories, which makes sense for keeping vampires a secret, but that's also just creepy and disturbing on so many levels.
I agree.
Also, vampire hunters have spells that can seal away people's memories. Everybody can seal memories, apparently.
Yeah, vampire hunters, the aristocrat vampires, just everybody can erase somebody's memory or something, or at least seal them up a way that they can't access the memory for who knows how long. Maybe even after the vampire or vampire hunter dies. Who knows? Well, I mean, I half know because I read the manga, but it's been a long time since I read the manga, so some of my memory of it is a bit foggy, but I do remember some of the important parts, so get off my back. And no, like I told you people, I am not going to reread the manga. I bet many of y'all people are like, well, maybe you're just misremembering the manga. Maybe the manga is really good and you're just judging it because you probably watched the anime more times than you read the manga. I don't care. I'm not rereading the manga. I don't care how much y'all beg in the comments below. I'm not rereading the manga. Trust me, I'm still scarred for life over that stupid ending. And when they say it is worse than the ending to Twilight, they are not wrong. Because at least in Twilight, Bella freaking made up her mind. That is the only credit I will ever give to Twilight. That is the only credit I will ever freaking give to Twilight. So let it be written. So let it end. I know it's so supposed to be so let it be done, but nah.
That's just a thing in this world. We don't need an explanation. Screw you, it's just a thing. I don't think the manga cut is fully exploring how
crazy, insanely crazy. That would affect the whole world.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry about that, guys.
I mention this because it'll be probably important later, but the Kuran family, Kaname's family, is actually the most pureblood descended from the royal line of vampires, the progenitor vampire, and has never mixed blood with anyone else in order to maintain their supernatural powers. So
Makes sense.
incest for vampires actually does something more than just be really gross. The pacing in the volumes beyond Volume 5 gets a lot better. They were really speeding through stuff before. Skipping forward to the parts you already know, Shiki's body is taken over by Kaname's uncle, the same guy that murdered his parents. And Kaname turns Yuki into a vampire in order to protect her from the man that killed their parents. Also, the way they did the bite scene was way better in the anime. I definitely gotta give the anime props for how they polished some of the delivery of this story. No, Zero, don't hurt him. He's my older brother. Something the anime didn't touch on is that the overarching conflict is actually the Senate versus the pureblood monarchy. Some aristocratic vampires want to revert back to the monarchy, thus siding with Kaname. Kaname says that he's the progenitor of the Kurans, and his uncle is his master, which doesn't make any sense. If he's the progenitor, then he came before his uncle, but he didn't because his uncle wouldn't be his uncle. So, is Kaname a reincarnation of the progenitor? He's not. I know the answer. You'll find out later on in this video. Uncle gets resurrected. So you know how the anime really harped on Zero consuming his brother's blood, which fixes him and from turning into a level E? Well, that's not what happens in the manga. Kaname explains that since Kaname drank Shizuka's blood, his blood is infused with hers. So by Zero drinking Kaname's blood, it's the same as drinking Shizuka's blood, which makes way more sense. I mean, it's still not a guarantee that he won't become level E, but it's a better explanation regardless. I mean, Zero still kills and drinks Ichiro's blood and gains more power because of the Twin Hunters thing, so that wasn't wrong. They touch on how the royal...
What? I swear. They be making it way too complicated. I told you, people, I don't remember everything from the manga. I remember most things, but not everything from the manga. So if I sometimes go, what? Okay, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, I gotta give props to the anime for that, or I gotta give props to the manga for that. Like I said, fuzzy in there.
royal line of vampires are able to control every other vampire beneath them just with a word. They're forced to obey. And Kaname uses that power to kill the Senate. Bro.
Yikes.
That's hardcore. They touched on all of these details in the anime, but they never fully fleshed it out. And the way they kill Kaname's uncle is different too. Yuki isn't pathetic like she is in the anime. Zero and Yuki work together to kill Rido. It's much more satisfying. Not only that, but Kaname finds out that his adopted father, one of the members of the Senate, is responsible for resurrecting his uncle. What's even crazier is that the head of the vampire hunters didn't even know that they were turning into a vampire by drinking the blood from the Senate, and Kyan Cross comes to destroy the Vampire Hunter Association, knowing that they're in his way of achieving his pacifist ideals. Zero swears to Kaname that his new mission in life is to destroy the purebloods, angry at how they manipulated him and taking away Yuki from him as well. Of course,
I thought he was already gonna do that technically, but I guess that's more of the anime thing than that was the manga thing. But seriously, I feel like that should have been in the manga too. I feel like he already should have wanted to hunt down the purebloods, but whatever. I guess at first it was just all vampires, but now it's just purebloods, which there still seems to be a lot of. So you know what? I'm just gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna leave it alone.
Of course, Zero struggles with actually committing to that since he still loves Yuki. And like a final goodbye, he finally kisses her, knowing they're going down very different paths and will no longer be the same people when they meet each other again. Yuki breaks down crying, realizes her family and the people she cared about is breaking apart, and she knows she can't fix what's happening and needs to accept that Zero is now her enemy. Man, if I liked Zero before... I really like him now. Also, Kaname isn't as creepy as he was in the anime. I don't like how Yuki and Kaname are siblings. But just accepting this whole situation is just messed up, and that's the point. It's supposed to just be messed up, and that's the appeal. It does make it interesting seeing how these characters react to a
very interesting situation.
At this point, I'm not rooting for anyone. I'm just rooting to see how this all unfolds. So it turns out Kaname was really trying to destroy the corruption of the Senate and the Hunters Association, not necessarily to bring back the monarchy, and the thing that twisted the fate of the vampires was the Senate abusing their power to slowly kill off the purebloods. Takuma, Kaname's adopted brother, is being taken care of by this woman named Sarah Shirabuki, who seems to be planning on using him for some purpose, and she has some obsession with Kaname. Now for a time skip, 1 year in the future, Zero is still hunting vampires under the Hunters Association, and he still attends Cross Academy. Honestly, Yuki is really a victim in all this. Apparently with vampires, the only way to satisfy their thirst for blood is with the blood of the person they love, and she's pretty much conditioned to love Kaname, and we see her struggle with both loving and resenting him. But she also still loves Zero, so she can only satisfy half of her hunger, putting her in a tough position. Apparently there was another apprentice that Toga the Eye Patch guy had, and his name is Kaito, who is now part of the story, I guess. He's not that important. Zero said he'd kill Yuki the next time they met, but that would not only go against the Hunter Association regulations, Kyan Cross, Yuki's adopted father, will also protect Yuki from Zero if he tries anything. Currently, Kaname is the leader to the vampires, and Kyan Cross is now the president of the Hunters Association. Kaito brings Yori, Yuki's old friend, to a political soiree where vampires are going to be swarming, and he's using her as bait, hoping that Yuki will succumb to her bloodlust and kill her friend, giving Zero a reason to kill her without going against the Hunters Association. Those plans get interrupted when Sarah starts talking to Yori, and Zero steps in, knowing Sarah is a pureblood and wants to keep Yori safe. It just so happens that a different pureblood and a vampire hunter were killed, and Sarah is the only one who smells of blood. Sarah explains to Takuma that she killed them because when purebloods lose their drive in life and have no goals, they go insane, and she killed a pureblood as a mercy. She also explains how she never wants to end up like that, and so her goal is to become queen of the vampires. Yuki actually starts going to other purebloods, saying that if they ever want her to, she's willing to kill them if they want, like an assisted suicide before a pureblood goes insane, and honestly that's kind of cool of her. When Yuki gets back, Kaname tells her that he isn't her brother. Okay, is the writer saying that because it's super weird and they know that people don't like it? Or was this always planned out? I mean, I know Kaname said,
If that were truly the case, I'd be much happier.
so it seems like it was all planned out, but
Come on.
he says he was actually sleeping in a coffin for forever. Apparently Rito, his quote-unquote uncle, was the one who revived Kaname from his coffin, which made Rito Kaname's master. Kaname needed to revert back to an infant, so because his cells were too weak in order to regenerate. So the idea is he got rid of some cells, and so his quote-unquote parents took him in. So he's not actually a reincarnation, he's just one of the progenitor vampires. Kaname, along with other progenitors thousands of years ago, were experimenting with how to kill vampires, and successfully created the weapons that vampire hunters use, knowing that vampires were slowly starting to get out of control. Okay, so usually I don't have a problem with the massive age gap between vampires and humans, because vampires are hot, but Kaname not only raised Yuki after their parents died, he also has been manipulating her from the get-go.
I get it was their parents' wishes.
But he was still kind of shitty with how he did it. And Yuki is still in high school, which is just a whole problem in itself that, because it's anime, I sadly have to just overlook, because that's just the demographic they aim toward, and so of course they're going to be that age. It appeals. People want to see themselves in the stories, and I understand the logic behind it, but now that I'm older and I'm not part of that age demographic, it's really weird now.
It is.
Ready to refresh your style with Stitch
It is.
Fix? First,
It's a
tell us how you like
lot
your clothes to
weird.
fit.
Like, I'm
What
not
did you
even gonna.
Like, this feels like
dance around
grooming,
it.
but
It's
Kaname
weird.
has some excuses. He is not absolved of fault. Kaname is still a really crappy person. I can sympathize with him a little bit, but also, I mean, this still feels like a crime. I love the whole villains who are obsessed with the main character, to where they're willing to destroy the world for them. I love that trope because it's hot. But this has
It is
many
hot.
elements that make it bad. In modern day, Sarah is converting humans in an all-girls school into vampires, creating an army. But the humans are willingly accepting becoming a vampire, so the Hunters Association can't really do anything to stop her. And the one who is CEO of the company that makes the blood tablets, she locked him up and plans to put her own blood into the tablets. Sarah starts going after more purebloods to kill them. Then Kaname, for reasons we don't know about yet, kills Ido's father. Yuki clearly becoming upset to the point she can't control her powers. Cayenne Cross is forced to bring her in since she's a security risk and a witness. Oh man, I just realized Ido literally told Kaname he loved him, and he just watched Kaname kill his dad. He's gotta be hurting on multiple levels. Yuki promised to help find Kaname so she wasn't locked up at all, and she also needs to pick up the slack since Kaname is gone. Her first goal is to reinstate the night class at Cross Academy in order to help maintain peace between humans and vampires. Sarah, having heard of the new night class, plans to add some students of her own.
Oh, guys, hold a minute. I know this isn't important, but while I was reading this manga, and I figured out about her, reinstalling night class, I started writing a fanfic about it. But I wrote it to where I only added that part from the manga into the anime. It's like an unofficial season 3 for my fanfic. So just wanted to tell you guys that because I might read it one day. I don't know when, but I might read it one day.
Zero has also agreed to join the school, but he won't be part of the disciplinary committee. He'll still be acting as a hunter, meaning he has permission to kill if necessary. However, Yuki is against it because she suspects Zero is falling to level E and he's just hiding it really well. Since Kaname is already on the top of the wanted list, Sarah goes ahead and just blames Kaname for all the killings that she's been doing. Zero also straight up tells Cayenne Cross, "Hey, Kaname is killing purebloods? Sounds good to me. Why would I want to stop him? He's doing my job for me." Can we just take a second to talk about how much the mangaka has improved over the course of this manga? I'm not talking about the writing, though that has improved in certain ways. I mean, like, the panel layout, they're just easier to read. There's more backgrounds in the panels, so they don't look like they're just in a void for most of the time. It feels more professional.
It does look like that a lot in the manga, like it's just
Unlike
a void.
Atsushi Okubo with Soul Eater, his art style is just that, and he doesn't improve, really, with Soul Eater. I haven't read Fire Force. He's probably gotten better. He has to have gotten better. It's been several years. Also, Kaname is literally trying to kill the
Also, I
purebloods.
will show me reading Soul Eater. I'm not just going to be watching the
Takuma
anime.
has been trying to warn everyone about the blood tablets and how they've suddenly started tasting good, and so Yuki and her friends know Sarah put her blood in them. And now, night class students are brazenly trying to attack humans, now that they're subtly being controlled by Sarah, and are developing an addiction to the new pureblood tablets. But when they drink Yuki's blood, they seem to revert back to normal. Yuki is slowly becoming a respectable person, now that she's forced into a position of power, and she was raised by Cayenne Cross's hope for peace between the humans and the vampires. She's slowly becoming something I thought could never exist, a benevolent politician, trying to truly create peace, but withholding her powers to control other vampires because she knows that ruling with an iron fist in order to establish peace isn't really peace.
Sure.
Madara. Sarah knows that Yuki is going to start confiscating the new blood tablets, so Sarah starts manipulating Zero to gain a new angle, and she commands Zero to kill Kaname. Super big fight breaks out between Kaname and Zero at the Hunters Association, and Kaname tries to break in. Even Yuki, after doing the cut your hair to show you've changed trope, stands against Kaname, no longer knowing what kind of person he is. Ido plans to synthesize Yuki's blood to create a cure for the blood tablets that are driving everyone insane. Yuki starts pointing out Kaname's hypocrisy, saying that purebloods shouldn't be allowed to dictate so much people's lives. But that also doesn't give him permission to just kill all the purebloods, which is also dictating everyone's lives. Honestly, Kaname's character shift is sudden and doesn't make sense. Sarah gets ready to kill Kaname while they're distracted, but the origin metal, the metal that's been infused with the first progenitor's blood used to create vampire hunting weapons, shoots up from the ground and pierces Sarah. The origin metal then begins to devour all the weapons it had created, infusing it back into itself, The spirit of the first progenitor vampire seems to speak to Kaname. Kaname tells his old friend that she doesn't need to keep fighting anymore, and he convinces her spirit to move on. Sarah, conveniently being stabbed by a makeshift anti-vampire weapon, is killed, unable to regenerate. This almost feels like a Deus Ex Machina, but they were talking about the first progenitor vampire for a while. It still feels cheap. Yuki decides that being torn between Zero and Kaname isn't going to get her anywhere, so she makes the decision to paralyze Zero in order to take away his memories of her. That way he won't need to be wrapped up in all the torment that they've been thrust into. She believes the only way she can save Kaname is to turn him into a human like what happened to her, though Kaname's plan is to throw his heart into the forge in order for him to become the new origin metal, giving the hunters more weapons to continue keeping the balance between humans and vampires.
I hope y'all
Kai and Cross is calling him out on his BS. They found Ido's father inside an abandoned coffin asleep, so it looks like his murder was faked. The turns are tabled, and Kaname plans to turn Yuki into a human again, so that she won't be hunted in retribution for Kaname killing other purebloods. And Zero's memory loss lasts all of one afternoon when he brute forces his memory back after getting so upset that Yuki was being forced to change who she is. Again, the vampires realize if they can get Kaname, they won't have another progenitor heart to make origin metal, meaning the vampire hunters would be powerless to stop vampires from complete control. So they start a little war. They're a little too late. Kaname puts his heart into the forge, and a new origin metal is created, sacrificing himself for the sake of balance. And he holds Yuki as he slowly dies, telling her how grateful he is for her, giving him happiness at the end of his long and complicated life. The new origin metal, in a plea to protect Yuki from the war outside, unleashes its fury to quickly put an end to the skirmish. And Ido puts Kaname's body in ice, trying to preserve him before he turns to ash. Ido discovers unfinished research that Kaname was working on, research on how to properly turn vampires into humans, permanently curing them of their thirst for blood. After 1,000 years, they complete that research, long after Zero passed away, never fully able to prevent him turning to level E. Yuki puts out the fire from the origin metal after curing vampirism from the world, and she gives her life to bring Kaname back as a human, allowing him to live out his final days with Yuki and Zero's children. Wow. A lot happened in that last volume. Honestly, I feel like Ido suddenly finding research is a little bit lame. I know the author wanted to wrap up the story in a nice little bow, but that felt a little forced. It felt a little forced. But I always say, when writing a story, you don't need to win the race. You just need to cross the finish line and not fall on your face. And Vampire Knight, I would say, succeeded in that. I can happily say my opinion of Vampire Knight has improved.
And I agree. Okay, guys, I take it back. I take it back. I guess I was misremembering the manga. The ending was not as bad as it was not as bad. I guess I was just misremembering it. I'm sorry for what I said earlier. So sorry, Twilight, you're still on my worst list. You were always on my worst list, but it seems like you're even lower than Vampire Knight, apparently, because at least Vampire Knight wrapped up in a bow, so... Sorry, not sorry.
After reading the manga, it was substantially better than I thought it would be. I still have a lot of problems with Kaname, but in terms of his character, his sudden change in motivation, and him in general, didn't really make sense, like, at the last quarter. Someone explain it to me in the comments if I'm just missing, like, the link as to why I skipped over, like, the other progenitor vampire girl from trillions of years ago when, not trillions, that's way too long. Because she wasn't actually that important to the story other than Kaname's motivation, but even then it's like, why is this suddenly motivating you? I don't understand the logic behind this dude. But overall, that was a solid B. Maybe an A if you ask me, if you're the right person. I'm editing the video right now, and I'm realizing a few talking points that I didn't cover. I think it's better to think of Vampire Knight less as the love triangle sort of deal, and more like a Shakespearean tragedy than anything else. Because when I started reframing my mind to think of it that way, it started making a lot more sense. But second, I said that it would be like a B or an A. Definitely not an A, because I'm realizing Kaito, the second apprentice to Toga, did nothing this, like, entire story. And also, Sarah has problems also, because a lot of what she was developing ended up going nowhere. Sure, the blood tablet thing was cool, but when it came to her killing a bunch of purebloods, that eventually just became Kaname killing a bunch of purebloods, so it's like, why did you have Sarah introduce the killing of the purebloods and not just go straight to Kaname doing it? And then you had Sarah developing that whole little lesbian army that was going on, that which evolved into nothing. So
it's pretty much a
why
whole
was that even a thing? I thought, like, the whole fight that was going to happen with the vampires trying to take over the Hunters Association and stop Kaname from becoming Origin Metal, that Sarah was dead by then, so nothing happened. And so Sarah as a character didn't really accomplish much of anything. I have some problems. There's a lot of problems with the story, and the more and more I think of it. The story overall has good qualities, but it's hard to overlook glaring problems with the narrative. Maybe like a C or a B, you know? Okay, let's keep going.
I don't think the ending was perfect, but it was well done, and I'm actually excited to read Vampire Knight Memories.
Tell me what you thought of the manga in the comments, and how has the manga changed your perspective of the anime? Subscribe if you're still Team Zero.
Write me a thesis-length comment explaining why you're still Team Kaname.
I hope you enjoyed this.
Oh, I never was Team Kaname. I was Team Zero all the way. Like, when I first started watching the anime, I was already Team Zero. Like, I felt like Zero had a way more interesting love story. So, I hope y'all have a good day. Bye.